Okay, folks, for this video, I'm going to cover just a few last items to tie up some loose ends. First off, what I wanted to cover with you folks is um, solids. There's such a thing called solids, layer solids. And if you go up to layer here, click on layer, or I'm sorry, click on your video or whatever, and click on layer, new. You can click on solid to create a solid layer. Um, you can name your solid layer whatever you want. It's usually a solid color. That's what it means by solid. And the size will fit the original size of your whatever video you have up. So you don't really have to adjust the size settings. The only thing you really have to mess with if you want is your color. So if you click on this box here, you bring up the color picker and you can choose whatever color you folks wish to do so. Okay, so if you click OK, After Effects will create a solid layer on top of your other layers. Now what you can do is you can use your blending mode to change to, say, like multiply, and because it's blue it'll give a blue tint, and you can choose different types of blending modes, one that will match what you folks are looking for. Okay, so that's a good way to tint your video. And of course, just like everything else, you can change the opacity, and you can keyframe the opacity if you folks want. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And of course, if you want to get rid of this layer, just make sure you click on it and hit the delete key or backspace if you guys are on the Windows computer. And the reason I wanted to show you folks how to do a layer new solid is because sometimes you folks may want to add on special effects. And if you folks want to add effects to your folks' videos, if you click here on effects and presets, there's a whole bunch. And I kind of hesitated to show you folks the effects because it's really complicated, but there's some that are pretty much easy and straightforward, some that require multiple steps, but here are just a few that you folks can add to your videos. One is noise and grain. If you wanted to add graininess to your video to give it that film quality, all you got to do is drag it from the panel and drop it right over your video here. Now, as you can see, it's pretty small within this white box. You may also notice that the panel here, the project panel, has turned into the settings panel for the grain effects. Don't worry, your project panel is still there. All you got to do is click on these double arrows, click project, and you're back on the project panel. If you want to go back to the effects panel, just click here where it says effects control panel. You can close out the panel if you like by clicking on this X, or just click here. Okay, to go back to project, click there. Okay, so don't worry about something like this being this small. That's only for preview. If you want to see it, how it's actually going to look, click on the preview here. You can go final output, and as you can see, now the whole thing is grainy. You can turn up the intensity by left mouse clicking and dragging. And then if you drag your timeline here, see the graininess. To get rid of your, if you don't want the special effects, what you can do is click on it here and click delete on your keyboard. Backspace for you Windows guys, and then you can click X here. Okay, and that's how you get rid of the effect. What else can we add? Let's try fractal noise. That'll give you a cloudy look to it. Now this is one of the times where adding effect to your video will do nothing, okay, for the video. So what you want to do, instead of adding the effect to the video itself, is you want to create a solid layer. Okay, we'll just leave it blue and add the effect to the solid layer. Okay, then on top of that, you're going to change the blending mode of that solid layer to something like screen or multiply or overlay. And if you play the video out here, you notice it just looks like dust or dirt all over the camera lens. But if you change the resolution here, like so, well, you would have to keyframe the animation, right? But you can, as you can see here, you can make it animate so that it looks like steam or something like that. So a little bit more involved for this particular effect. You could reduce the opacity of the black. What else? Transform. The turbulence you could change up. So now you folks are starting to see, change the contrast here. So now you folks are starting to see how complex it can be. And this is just for fractal noise. Okay, so yeah, the effects can get pretty deep. What else we have here? Simulation is always good. I'll pull up another, or put up another solid layer. I just wanted to show you that real quick. Notice how when I went up to layer, I guess not now. There. Notice how when I click on layer, new is grayed out. That's because I have this panel active. You can tell the panel is active because I have the blue line around the panel. You can click on the panels to make them active. So if you have the view panel active or the layer panel active, new becomes highlighted. But if you're on the project panel, you're not going to see new. Okay, so make sure either your view panel is active with the blue line or your layer timeline panel is active. So I'm going to add a new solid. To the solid, I'm going to add something like bubbles. And the bubbles takes on the color of your solid. Okay, so now if I play my timeline here, get all these bubbles. Now if you want to adjust the bubbles, you can do so up here, or you can open up the effects and do it down here. Either way, it's the same thing on either panel. So I'm gonna do it up here. Bubble amount, You can change the amount of bubbles. You can add more. You can add or take away, get less. Bubble speed, the speed at which the bubbles go. You can really crank them up so that when you play it back, they're really flying. Wobble amplitude, you can really crank that up. Might not be able to see it wobbling that much because it's flowing upwards so fast, but if you, let's just put that back down to 1. Now you can really see it. Wobble frequency, you can crank that up. So as you can see, there's a lot of effects that you folks can do. Maybe we get rid of the bubbles here. I'm clicking on the bubbles and hitting delete. That way we keep our royal blue solid. Maybe we add some kind of other, let's go with starburst. So we got starburst here. So as you can see here, there's pretty cool effects here, right? And of course you can mess with the scatter, the speed, the phase, grid spacing, size, blend with the original, whatnot. So keep that in mind if you folks are you know, using effects. You guys can either put it on a solid color like this, or you can add it straight to the video, but sometimes it doesn't turn out as good. See, I just added it to the video and you can't really see the video anymore unless maybe if I blend it. So it really takes some time to get used to and fooling around with your project and whatnot. And remember, if you ever want to get rid of the effect, all you got to do is click on it, hit delete, and it's gone. Close out that window. And to get rid of your solid layer, just click on the layer, hit delete, and you're done with that. Now for the important part, if you folks want to render your video. Okay, to render is fairly simple as well. To render, all you have to do is come up to composition, add to render queue. But before you do that, make sure the ends here, this blue knob up here and this blue knob up here is at the absolute end. In other words, not shortened like this. You have it all the way to the end of your video, because if you were, say, working on a portion of the video like so, it's only going to render or put out whatever is between these two blue knobs here. So if your entire video, for example, is 24 seconds like this is, but you have the knob all the way down here to 7, it's only going to render from 0 to 7. So make sure you guys stretch this knob. If you guys did shorten it at any point while you were working on your video, make sure you stretch it all the way back to the end of your video so the full frames is up there. So you're going to go composition, add to render queue. You'll notice the timeline changed to this window, which is the render queue. Your timeline is still there. All you got to do is click on the name of your video or whatever, and the render queue is still there. You can go back and forth between windows here. Now the only thing you have to really change here is output 2. Okay, And in this case, I want to output it to my desktop. Your movie is going to be a quicktime.move file, and of course you're going to name it whatever your name is. Click save. Now all you have to do is click render. As you can see, the progress bar goes all the way through. You hear the chime, and your video is ready. So you can play it at any time. And here's your video. Now it may be a little bit choppy like this because of course, the rendering sometimes is slow. So that's how you folks render out your video, right? If you folks have any questions, let me know.